why is this so difficult? If you are new to the game, then you will appreciate that hitting the driver is so much harder than hitting maybe an A time. And there's real reasons behind that. And you need to kind of go about your learning and your progression in the right way. So this video is for relative novices and high handicaps, or basically anyone who hasn't quite grasped the driver, especially if, like most people, you find it slicing to the right, then this video is for you. As always, I'll put a link in the description to a practice plan that you can download and you can take to the range and do the right kind of drills to really be able to create some speed, get the right kind of strike and line the face up so we get the thing going straight. Let's get started. So first up, why is it so difficult to hit the driver? A lot of people say to me, you know, I can hit my A-tine quite nicely, often with a draw, but the driver just kind of slices way out to the right. Well, first of all, you have a much smaller margins of error. So the ball going to the right is most often because the face is open. I appreciate some people swing across it, but generally it's because the face is open. Now, you leave the face open with an A-tine, swinging at, I don't know, 60 miles an hour and all that loft, yeah, it'll go a tiny bit right. But the combination of more speed with the driver and a straighter face means you're going to get more side spin, and of course it's balls going further, you're going to get more of that curve out to the right. So the margins for error are smaller. But then let's also think about the mechanics of hitting the ball straight. We need to be swinging the club, you know, roughly speaking, around the circle. But at some point, that club needs to line up at the ball so that the face is square and that the handle and the club head are in line, i.e. not coming in like so. You can see here the handle's forwards, the face is now way open, and we're kind of de-lofting it with the club forwards. So for that to happen, there is a motion in the swing whereby we are, at some point in the downswing, and depending on how powerful you are, we are no longer accelerating the handle. We are in fact putting the brakes on with the handle in order to speed the head up and have it catch up the hands and actually pass us. So those mechanics are more easy to understand with the kind of the whip crack tool. So this is one of my favorite tools to help people connect with the motion of the head and how to get some speed into the head. And it requires us to not necessarily consciously understand the mechanics of deceleration of the handle, but to intuitively feel what it's like to crack a whip. So this thing has a magnet which will sling down and make a clicking noise when it hits here. If I just keep dragging, I'm not going to get the crack of the whip at the right time. So I need to be pulling and then slowing the handle. But no one thinks about slowing the handle. We actually think about speeding the head up and swooshing it past us, which is that motion. Now, that is having the function of then slowing the handle, letting the club line up, so we've got loft, but also getting the club from being open back to square. And if you don't do that, if you are pulling hard, maybe with your shoulders or your body, or just dragging the handle past the ball, and you don't get that sense of the club passing you, then you haven't got the release and you're going to be hitting it to the right for a very long time. So we need to be able to get the club passing us, that sense of release. And a tool like that, I think, is a really good way to go, because these things need to be learnt intuitively, not just by understanding it. Now, why is the driver harder then? Well, if you think about an A-tine being this length, it doesn't take as much force to slow the handle and speed the head up as it does when the club is much longer. We have to brake harder with the handle to speed the head up faster. Hence, it's much more difficult to be able to get the club head back and around and lining up. And that is a big reason why most people slice the ball to the right with a driver for certainly the first few years. So the key thing being then, we need to slow the handle and swoosh the club head past us. Now, if you spent any time on YouTube, then that might come across to you as a flipping motion, which you've been told definitely do not do. But let me tell you, if you have, particularly in the early parts of your game, if you are trying to not flip it, i.e. not get the head passing the hands, and you have some kind of weird blocking motion, it is catastrophic for the driver. I don't know how many golfers I've worked with in their early days who have fallen foul of that piece of advice of trying to not flip it. We need to, especially with the driver, get the hand slowing down and the club slinging past us in order to get some speed and line it up. So any ideas of not flipping, I think we need to park those. Okay, so where does that leave us then? I would be practicing getting a player to release the driver well, to, as we said, bring it back in line with some loft and get the thing squaring up. I would go down the grip. Again, it takes less force with a shorter shaft. And initially, I'd be doing just feet together, L shape to L shape. So anyone familiar with my channel will know that the L shape is this, and then it's that swoosh and a similar looking L shape on the follow through. Now, initially, that looks quite risky, but I have to say, it's not me actively using the wrists. It's more me slowing the handle, speeding the head, and the club itself is kind of making my wrists do what they're doing. I'm not being especially wristy with this. And as you get better and better at a motion like that, you'll see there's a certain involvement with my knees and hips as well. My knees and my feet. It's not just me sort of swooshing my arms. There's a braking force with the feet. Okay, so importantly, we've got the club overtaking our body, what will be slightly after impact. And then I would take my driver stance, or I'd invite the student to take their driver stance, head behind the ball, and just get really good at being able to swoosh the head past that front leg. And initially, I mean, that was quite flat-footed, wasn't it? And initially, you might hit a little bit left, which would be massive progress. You know, we're not going to go from big banana slices right to dead straight, you know, in one go. There's a process here, and that process involves learning to release it, learning to swoosh the head past us. So I would be a little bit flat-footed to start with, just L to L, and then kind of build it from there, and ultimately learn what it's like to line the club head up with speed and actually getting it past us. And what you'll notice is you will go from low and big and slicey to launching it higher because you've got the club lined up, and hopefully squaring the face a lot better as well. Thank you for watching. If you want to see a video with more drills on how to release the club well, then that will be linked just down here. But before we see you next time, good luck, play well.